where the drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandobi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Pileski dives onto the right side, very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys, Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Pileski. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. Well, now it's lap 20. The Williams still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the left car and around those at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner. Will he ride the curb? Yes, he will. He will get him on the inside. Duna Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. Look at the beauty as his right side will cook the grass. Oh, a 180, no, a 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernot. Gernot will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
Among the list of revered tracks around the world, Imola can bring something of a hush to most race fans. Having experienced its fair share of tragedy and controversy, the atmosphere can be almost spooky at times. And though the drivers are well aware of this course's history, their eyes are focused on the task at hand. And that's to get to the checkered flag as quickly as they can. We'll see who that winds up being as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Samuel Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Sam, Autodromo Enzo y Dino Ferrari certainly is beautiful, but I don't know about you, I'm not here to smell the flowers.
No, and I'm not here to pronounce that name there, Joe. Imola, that's what we're going to call it. It is a 3.05 mile 17 circuit here in Italy, and we are here to watch some racing tonight. 27 laps of racing to be exact. Now, of course, you mentioned this, the history this track has of tragedy, Joe. That does mean that they have had to slow this course down throughout the years. They've added in a couple of chicanes, and what that means is we do get some interesting racing out there sometimes. This is a very twisty circuit that definitely can lead to some accordion effects, maybe even a few incidents in the slower parts of the circuit. But we do have a split race. There's 2 different races going on right now for these guys, and we have got the cream of the crop going to be racing here on the Global SimRacing Channel today. Give you an idea of what challenge they're going to face. Let's go on board our GSRC Lotus 79. Take a lap around here at Imola.
All right, we've got Johan Norlampi in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Imola. Down the front stretch, you're kind of weaving back and forth trying to straighten out the track. Then comes Tamburello, which will probably be your best place to attempt to pass. Try to hug this first apex, don't track out too far after the second, and then let it fly through the third. As we come up to Villeneuve, it's going to be tempting to try passes, but the faster first half of the chicane makes it very, very tricky. If you come in here too wide, you'll probably lose a lot of time. Then, it's a short burst up to Tosa. This car does not like accelerating out of slow corners, so expect a few drivers to lose it while trying to get to the power. But it'll be important to get on the gas as early as you can because it's a steep climb up to Piratella. Every ounce of momentum counts. It's always incredibly hard to get the car to turn into the apex here. You can use some of the AstroTurf on the exit, but it doesn't really offer much grip. For Acqua Minerale, you're going to be slowing, turning, and braking through the first half. Very tough. Then, the second half is even slower. Don't drift out too far or else you can get a slowdown penalty. Those 2 bends will bite a lot of drivers before the day is out. Then we climb back up out of the valley and hold to the left. Alta is the tightest of the 3 chicanes on this track. While passes can be made, your competitor will need to cooperate or else you'll likely tangle. Once again, watch the AstroTurf because it's slippery. Then we're going to weave back downhill. Try to angle the car so that you have a straighter run into Ravazza. You'll really be stomping the brakes here, and the downhill entry tends to cause a number of drivers to overshoot this corner. You only have a tiny blip on the throttle before you tackle the second apex, which is much more important. Getting a proper run off of here will be critical to your current lap and the next one. Hopefully, though, you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Imola. to give you a sense of just how quickly this Lotus 79 gets around here with the immense power of that car. Now, right now, qualifying is happening, but we don't have any times on the board, so let's take a quick glance at the championship order. Gerno Friesch currently up at the top, and Morera not too far behind, but still has a bit of a gap that he needs to make up. Now, Matt Wood, what a season he's been having. Good in the Lotus 49, good in the Lotus 79 as well. Just loves these classic cars. However, he has an even larger jump back there in third. Really, the only change that we're seeing in the top 5 is down there in fifth, where Alex Millward finds himself getting up onto our graphic. Now, Sam, there is also the Constructors Championship. What's that look like?
Well, it looks like this, Joe. A lot of different constructors, very close together. Just 1 point separating the top 2 teams on the board there. Williams and Ligier. By them, we got Robin 3 points down. And then we get to Ferrari. Well, of course, the Tifosi always come out in full force here at Imola. And whether it's Villeneuve and Peroni at the front of the field, or our drivers competing here in this classic Team Lotus Championship, the Italian fans always going to be cheering on their guys in red.
Certainly will. You can see up on the top of your screen that Nuno Moreira currently leads the qualifying times. Now, real quick, in case you've never watched one of these Lotus 79 races, let's take a look at the race details. Of course, as we said, we're halfway through the season, and they do get 4 drop weeks here, and they get 2 for their team championship as well. Now, the race today is limited by laps. They have 27 that they have to complete. And just like it was in 1978, there is no expected pit stops. They're going straight through, so don't see anyone stopping for fuel unless they screw it up. There is an incident cap at 17, so drivers will have to keep it clean or they can get DQ'd. And the points for that championship that we showed you are scored with the official iRacing points. And that means that you could see some decent jumps, especially, Sam, with this being the top split today, a lot more points on hand than what might typically happen if it was just a single split.
Yeah, and quite often we do see these races go split, so always good points out there to be found. Currently, Nuno Moreira has himself in best position to try and get as many of those as possible, because he currently sits on pole by 0.6 of a second over Sergio Marcias, as the drivers are about to wrap up qualifying here in the next couple of minutes.
Yep, they only get 2 laps out here, and I was watching Juha Norlampi, but he makes a big mistake into Ravazza and does not get a second lap, so third is as good as he's going to be able to accomplish. Now we're watching the Finn, Ossian Puhaka. Let's see if he can get himself higher than the second row right now, sitting in 4th. His first lap, a 1:33.431. The pole is currently a 32.7. So has quite a ways to get up to the very top spot. And as he crosses the line, a 1:33.411 is enough to improve, but not enough to go any positions higher. Now, Calle Ruocola has not put a time in yet. This is his first time lap as he comes across now. He should have enough time for his second lap. His first time lap is not going to count, though. Ooh, one of the things that we should talk about here, Sam, is those 1Xs during qualifying. When you have chicanes, very easy to rack those up.
Yeah, and even though he has enough time to get a second lap in, the pressure is going to be on here. He knows he can't afford it. He might even scale back a little bit, because he knows he can't afford to put so much as a wheel off. If he does that, his lap won't count, and he'll have to start dead last. Maybe he might just take it a little bit easier in the closing moments here, sacrifice a front row start just to make sure he gets up there in the field rather than starting 19th.
Works his way through Piratella. So far, I believe this lap looked clean for him. On screen, we saw a little bit of Tapani Linoluoto, who also improved his time but did not improve his position, sitting only at 6 for this race. Linoluoto coming over from both the Lotus 49 and from the Camel Series. took a win in the Camel Series this weekend. Of course, that was at a different Italian track.
This is make or break here, Joe. He's the only car left on track. Well, no one else, none of the other drivers can watch his qualifying attempts. That's something the drivers don't have access to, but we do as spectators. Let's see, one driver left to mix up the order, and he crosses the line. Where's he going to go?
Up to 11th at best. That's unusually low for Ruocola. Like you said, he may have backed off a little bit to see what he could do just to get it on the board, but let's go to that starting grid. Nuno Moreira on the pole with Sergio Macias in second. Johan Noralampi going to be starting third, screwed up his second qualifying lap. Ossian Puhaka will be on the outside of row 2. Then Lear Hughes starts in 5th, followed by Tapani Linnaluoto, race winner this weekend in a different series. In 6th, Victor Rodriguez begins in P7. Then at the drop of the green, Steve Bycroft will start off in 8th. He's followed by Alex Millward in 9th, and Matt Wood a little bit farther down here in the more recent Lotus, rounding out our top 10.
Yeah, now let's flick over the page number 2, where the driver we just saw on track, Rucola, is starting in 11th, head of Vove Trantre. Timo Vaskilampki will be starting in 13th, head of Justin Lindsay. Tommy Mikau-Anhola will be starting in 15th, head of Mark Pickford. John Stevens, Mick Claridge, and Drekek Madreski will be rounding out the field. The whole field covered by less than 3 seconds, which is quite close, Joe, considering a very high track temperature out there today, 105 degrees Fahrenheit.
Indeed, all the cars gridding up, and boy, top split is coming hot and heavy itself today. An average strength of field of 4,589. You talk about stiff competition. I think these drivers will have their work cut out for them today. Just a few more that we're waiting on. Everybody trying to make sure they have the right setup in the car, checking their fuel. Don't want to have qualifying fuel in there. Easy mistake to make. Almost everybody on iRacing has done that at some point in their career. So we flash through the field, getting you an idea of who is out there on the grid and the liveries that they've got, the classic liveries that they have on their cars. Now, everybody out on the grid as the engines start to rev and the lights come up. Here on round 6, green flag is out. Great start from Moreira. Not a bad start from Macias, but immediately slots back into line. It's a little bit more crowded. Back in 4th, it looks like Puhaka and Lear Hughes up around the outside. Linnaluoto trying to go in deep, and he gets at least one position out of it. And I think everybody else is looking nice and clean, though, Sam.
With the high track temperatures and the short gears these drivers have here, I was not expecting to start that clean, but sure enough, they are all clean so far. Still side-by-side racing going on back around 8th place. So we've got Victor Rodriguez on the inside of Alex Millward. Right behind them, Kaleo Ruocola, spinning goes Steve Bycroft, collects the car behind him. That's Matt Wood.
Spoke too soon. Wood's going to get it going, but I don't think that Bycroft... Oh, now Bycroft gets it going. Meanwhile, back up at the front, we see our leader, Moreira, is leading by about 4/10. Not a huge gap, but just enough to keep him safe from attack here in the first time around. Rodriguez and Millward still are closest currently of the top 10 as they work their way through Alta.
Tifosi getting up on their feet as the cars come around, and they realise those top 2, though, aren't Ferraris, and they sit back down. First Ferrari we have been represented here is Lear Hughes, back in 6th position in the number 12 machine.
Indeed. Similar colors there up on that Brabham, but not quite the same as they complete the first lap. Well, I think we got a replay out of Tosa with what happened to Bycroft. Let's see, coming through Villeneuve. Williams doesn't go defensive, lets him through. Oh, and just being a little bit offline, it looks like, Sam. Didn't expect the grip to be down, and we talked about those hot temperatures. I think it bit our first driver of the day.
Yeah, but it was another driver who made an unscheduled stop at the end of the first lap. These 2 drivers have continued on track, but Tommy Mikau-Unhola into the pits at the end of the first lap, so I wonder if he picked up the damage from an incident that we didn't get on camera. And unfortunately, that's not a good start to the race for the driver of that number 18 machine. Also, like you said, Joe, maybe he just started the race with very qualifying fuel load.
Now, you talked about the Tifosi cheering. Well, I think they maybe put up a roar during that last lap because Lear Hughes managed to get by Tapani Linnaluoto to get himself into the top 5. But look at the train starting to form. You mentioned drivers like Villeneuve. He's looking a little bit like Spain from the 70s there, or actually, I think it was 1980 when Villeneuve held back a whole slew of cars behind him.
Yeah, no Italian drivers in this race, though, the Route 4. We got 4 Finnish drivers. We got a bunch of, 6 Finnish drivers out there and a bunch of British drivers. So those countries being well represented, but right now leading them all around is Moreira from Iberia. He's ahead of Malcius, Noralamki, Puhaka, and Hughes, who is being challenged for that 5th place.
Linnaluoto goes around the outside into Tamburello, but it doesn't pay off. In fact, it hurts him because here comes Rodriguez up the inside, boxes him in, thinks maybe about 2 of them up into Villeneuve. Linnaluoto comes back at him, but can't get the power down off the corner. Oh, Rodriguez a little bit in the sand, and that slows him down. Look at just how much this is checking everybody up. Ooh, big slide there from, I believe that was Ruicola. Side by side ahead of them, Rodriguez to the inside of Millward. Up into Piratella, finally slices through.
Very aggressive racing between all of these drivers, but they're still remaining close to the cars in front of them, and they're still keeping it clean so far, knock on wood. This isn't a very long race, Joe. I mean, a lap around here, 1 minute 30, and we don't even have 30 laps here, so this race will take about 40 minutes, and we're already about 5 minutes through.
Certainly is a quick one, which means opportunities could be slim. Rodriguez dropping a bit off the back of Linnaluoto, making this pack of 6 into a pack of 4 potentially. Now's his best chance to try to reel him in, but doesn't get the greatest of exits coming off of Ravazza. So Linnaluoto continues to streak away.
So Hughes continues to hold up the train. Linnaluoto in 6th place, Rodriguez in 7th, where he started. Millward. Rucola, we mentioned his qualifying attempt, Joe, and how we thought maybe he was had a reason to be taking a bit conservative. He has picked up 2 spots at the opening here.
Still not as much as you would expect. Oh, and he gets a big slide coming out of Villeneuve. Up to Tosa. Not often that you see passes into here, so he is safe for now from Trangarade, but yeah, Ruicola just doesn't seem to be having the best today so far.
Marira's blown his engine. He's pulling off. He's out of a race from the lead.
Maybe downshifting too quickly. He's up braking into Piratella here, and we're going to hear it. Wow, not something you typically see, especially from Moreira, who is usually so flawless. Well, that is going to hand it over to Sergio Macias now. Started in 2nd on the front row, but inherits the lead. Nora Lampi not too far behind, only a 2nd back, but unlike a little bit ago, no DRS in these older cars.
And what a pass on the outside. Linnaluoto is trying to attempt here on Hughes, and Hughes could get freight trained here. Rodriguez, nowhere to go. Behind him, Millward, nowhere to go. Going to go 3 abreast.
Up the middle, Millward tries to see if he can find a spot. Down into the braking, they get 2 by 2. Linnaluoto trying to carry his speed around the outside. A little bit of contact there between Millward and Hughes, but the one who comes out the best is the brave Victor Rodriguez.
Linnaluoto's thinking, what just happened? That's Hughes goes side to side with Millward. Linnaluoto gained 1 spot down the front straight and then lost 3 spots without ever making a turn. A great racing by these guys so far, and this pack goes all the way back to 10th place.
They have not separated by any stretch of the imaginations. Rodriguez was definitely being held up. Look at how fast he has jumped away from this group. Up ahead, it looks like Millward's starting to maybe use a little bit of an advantage here as he gets himself a gap, and now it's Lear Hughes once again holding up the train.
Yeah, unfortunately for Hughes, I think we're seeing a bit of a trend here, is that he's probably one of the slower drivers in this pack, at least at this stage during the race. And when these drivers have been able to get by him, they're pulling away. The rest of them, Lina Luoto, Rucola, Trandre, Vasculamki, they just haven't been able to find a way by yet. Boy, that continues to go back all the way. Mark Pickford in 11th on that now. Battle for second.
Oh, getting very close as Nora Lampi is being hounded by Puhaka, but he's also gaining on Macias. Could have a three-way battle for the lead as they come out of Tamburello up towards Villeneuve. Nobody close enough to attack right now.
Oh, yeah, Hughes and Millward banning wheels as they came out of Tamburello. And so finally, Lina Luoto is able to find a way by Hughes.
Solidly by this time. He's been side by side with Hughes for quite a few laps, and Hughes isn't done as Kali Ruocola tries to come up the inside but can't get the grip off of the hairpin. That puts him under threat from Trangarade, but they're going to stay in line as they hit Piratella.
I don't think you can stiffen up the actual suspension components on your car in the setup. You know, not necessarily spins, but make it so that the wheels don't buckle when you hit other cars. But Hughes has found a way to do that, it would appear.
Certainly has. And credit to Hughes in all of this. He's not given up easily. He's making everybody work for it once they get by.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying he's not being an aggressive defender, but he's leaving room, maybe not enough room for a whole car to fit, but, you know, 9/10 of it, enough that they can still both get through the turns.
Ooh, looks like another draft is going to go to Ruocola as they come down the front stretch, but he's not closing very quickly. These drivers they do have open setup, and you can see differences in downforce depending on each driver's philosophy and preference. You mentioned this bringing in some of the cars behind. It was Trangarade at the tail of it, but now in his mirrors, he can start to see Vasculampi, Pickford closing on them, as well as Mick Claridge coming over from his win in the Lotus 49 yesterday.
And Rucola is down the inside of Hughes. And he'll have the inside for the next turn as well. Well, they kink back to the right here, but the next heavy braking zone is this left-hand at the top of the hill.
Once again, Hughes tries to pinch him down a little bit, but is not successful. Now Ruocola gets by, frees himself into 7th. Let's see what he can do from there. He was clogged up for a number of laps. He was already under threat from Trangarade, but behind them, side-by-side action between Vasculampi and Pickford. Up into Alta. You can't usually go through here too wide. They're going to try it. They bang wheels. Pickford comes out ahead as he barges his way through.
Yeah, I put part of the blame on Vasculampi there. It looked like he turned in a bit early on the second part of the chicane, but they both continued. Oh, and actually, let's continue with this replay, because at the bottom of the hill it gets a little bit hairy. Nothing happens, but they all are kind of accordion together.
Tyrrell certainly got roughed up, discovered that Kitty's got claws. So let's see what happens down here. Woo! Oh, good catch there. I think that was Mick Claridge who got a little sideways. And Vasculampi ends his day in the wall, maybe? No, I think he stayed out of it.
These are going to be some of the ugliest Lotus 79s we've ever seen in Parc Fermé at the end of this sin.
Oof, round he goes, just catches it before the tires. Nice job by Vasculampi. Unfortunately, he does lose a number of spots. He is down to 16th.
Well, I actually feel bad for the drivers in the podium positions right now. They're probably running 1, 2, 3. They're 2 seconds apart from another, thinking, oh boy, we must be putting on the show for the leaders.
Yeah.
They got to be talking about us a lot. We're running nose to tail.
And actually, did Puhaka make a mistake just now? It looks like he's dropped off a bit. Or maybe it's just that Norlampi has turned it up as Macias now starting to become under threat.
Yeah, Macias might have a bit of damage to his car, to be honest. Last time they went through the chicane, he got a bit of a curve, put him up in the air, and sure enough, for one reason or another, Norlampi's able to get a run on him here.
Almost an exact copy of what we saw before with Vascalampi, and Norlampi loses that second place to Puhaka. Makes the challenge, tries to go around the outside just a little bit offline. Might have been some marbles there.
I wonder if we could get another replay from about a minute ago when our race leader went through the chicane.
Let's see. What'd you catch here, Sam?
Well, the leader called a lot of air. You watch it. They accelerate up here, get some nice top speed going down the back straight, hard braking, and then a bit of air.
Wow, yeah, he did. Good catch, Sam. And I agree that the underside of this car, very sensitive, very aerodynamically important to the way it handles. We're going to watch it one more time. Whew. You want to get on the curbs, but not that much. So, the good news for Macias is that Norlampi's mistake means he's now instead focusing on getting past Puhaka instead of Sergio. In fact, he's got some ground to gain as he's about a second behind Ossian. The leaders got their screen time, but how about a little bit farther back in 12th? Mick Claridge, we saw him have a moment in Rivazza not long ago. And, well, he might be struggling a little bit still because Lindsay not too far behind, about half a second gap here for 12th position. Up into Tamburello they go. Claridge holding him off for now.
Yeah, so we could tell in the early stages that Lair Hughes was struggling for whatever reason. That's what was kind of causing that train and all that action to unfold. He's pretty much settled into 8th place now, that the train's broken up after some passing was done. He does have a bit of pressure from behind, the number 14 of Ove Trandre, running not far behind Hughes' Ferrari Lotus, whatever you want to call it. So those two just keeping tabs on each other, running in 8th and 9th right now.
Indeed, and as close as they have gotten, it's gotten very close between Lindsay and Claridge. Justin Lindsay a little bit out of place today, I think, as even though he's qualified in 14th and is sitting 13th, he's rated car number 8 out there, so we would expect him to be a little bit higher than this.
Well, Imola, it's not exactly a new circuit on iRacing, but it's one of the newer ones, Drew, and you know, it only comes around once every 12 weeks, I suppose, so there might be some drivers who are still getting used to it, or, you know, it is a bit of a twistier circuit, a bit more unique, so there are some drivers who will struggle here a little bit more than others.
Not able to do anything there into Tamburello. Traeger continues to be very close behind Lear Hughes. Now, interestingly, Cali Ruocola hasn't been able to get away from Hughes that quickly now that he's gotten by. He's got a little bit of a gap, but it's not significant.
Yeah, but he has picked up 4 spots at the start of this race. We keep mentioning his qualifying efforts, started 11th up to 7th. Likewise, Alex Millward now running in 5th. He has also gained 4 spots since the start. Our big mover, though, I believe, has been Mark Pickford. He's up 6th. He started 16th, running 10th right now. Oh, okay, Mick Larry dropped 6 as well.
And actually, Pickford looking maybe to get one more as he's trailing Matt Wood. Remember, Wood had his incident early on and has been able to continue. It is somehow in the top 10, which surprises me with how long it took him to get going. Right on board with Pickford.
Yeah, quickly approaching the halfway point of this race here. Marcia's just completed lap number 11. Only 27 laps. We'll be at the halfway point within the next lap. 2 laps, so 2 to 3.
Now, we've been kind of keeping half an eye on our leaders here as we've checked back in with them. I've noticed something, Sam. Laura Lampi's catching Puhaka, and Puhaka is catching Macias. Things are accordioning together. This is about to get tasty.
Yeah, hard to tell if Macias got any damage from, you know, when he had that pretty severe bounce over the curbs. He's running a few tenths off of his fastest lap. And normally I would say you'd expect these cars to pick up in pace as the race goes on because fuel load tends to mean a bit more than tyre wear. That being said, however, this circuit is fairly abusive on tyres with its tight corners out there, and also that high track temperature isn't going to be kind to those 4 rubber thins each of these cars have either. So we'll wait and see how it unfolds.
Lampi just stalling out a little bit behind Puhaka. Same thing with the Finn behind Macias. Drivers having trouble following closely around here with the wake that these things put off. Now, obviously the front stretch gives a huge draft, and that seems to be the most popular place to try and overtake so far. But the gap between first and second at about 8 tenths, second and third about 6 tenths.
And despite all the wheel banning we saw going on earlier, we still have 18 cars on the lead lap. And in the race, there's one driver who wasn't involved in any battles. Nuno Moreira, who was just dominating the race up front, is the only one out of it.
Sad to see. Now, a little bit farther down, we're wondering what Lino Luolto could do as he started in 6th and has found his way back to 6th. But has since been trying to catch up to Alex Millward here. Now, Millward was in that pack with him when they were all clogged up behind Lear Hughes. And so far has been trailing him forward as Millward tries to keep up with Rodriguez, but hasn't been able to make an attack quite yet.
And you probably saw the interval at the bottom right of your screen there that they had over Rucola increasing because Rucola had an off a couple of turns ago. He didn't lose a heck of a lot of time, but it did bring Hughes and Trantere back up to his rear wing, and now we have a 3-way fight shaping up for 7th.
We know how brave Trangerade can be in a battle, so I wouldn't doubt that maybe he's going to have a few goes as soon as he gets the opportunity. He was a little bit upset because he ruined his chances in the Lotus 49. He was very apologetic about getting too aggressive there, running into his fellow competitor. Up at the top, though, things getting very, very tight as Puhaka's now closed into within 3 tenths.
Yeah, everyone chose to battle in the first 5 laps of this race, and the last 10 laps they were like, okay, let's just follow each other around, and then I think they're all getting ready to say, okay, everyone battle for the next 5 laps again, because all of these seem to be coming back together.
Well, we are in the latter half of the race now. 27 laps out there. We're on lap 14. And Puhaka is going to have to be a little bit patient, it looks like. This track notorious for being difficult to pass on. Wow, Macias is looking a little sketchy. Once again, through that chicane, car getting slightly out of shape.
Well, before we give our camera time to all of these drivers about to be involved in battles, let's give a shout out to the one driver in the top 10 who's not in the battle. That's Victor Rodriguez. He started 7th, he's running 4th, and he's kind of feeling lonely right now, but Who knows? He might end up with the lead if things get a bit dramatic in front of him.
I wouldn't doubt that. Oh, and things are about to get dramatic because Puhaka has a great run on Macias. This is for our lead. Looking to the outside, up into Tamburello. This has gone bad for his fellow Finn before, but Puhaka holds it a lot steadier, but drops a lot of time on Sergio.
Yeah, Nora Lumpke just sitting back there in third place behind. We are beyond the halfway point of the race now. These drivers getting ready for crunch time.
Nora Lumpke, having started this race in third, sits in third. Puhaka's moved up 2 positions into second since the start. Macias up 1 from the front row onto the top spot. This has got to be a pressure cooker for the Iberian. Only he knows whether he's damaged at this point. Into Alto one more time they go. And you have to say that Macias, despite being a little bit down on speed compared to these two, has been pretty steady in most places. It just seems to be Alta that is his Achilles heel.
Oh, he got a bit of oversteer going through the penultimate turn there, and that is not the place he wants it, because Puhaka might be able to get a good, nice run on him going down the front straight.
Ooh, is this going to be a slam dunk for the Finn? Ossian it's going to have to go around the long way as Macias goes defensive, coming up into the braking zone. What can he do? Last time he was around the outside, he couldn't keep the grip up. This time he found it, and he gets into first place. Macias stops the bleeding as he fends off Nora Lumpke for second.
Battle for fifth. Yep, here we go. Lina Luoto and Millward. Lina Luoto is going to be able to pull off that position.
Oh, that was a long time coming for Tapani. That gets himself into fifth now. But it's a long ways up to Rodriguez, about 4.5 seconds. Oh, and coming back at him. Here comes Millward. He's not going to let him get away that easily. Tries for the over-under, but just nothing doing.
If these two battle too hard, remember there's that three-way battle for 8th going on, not too far behind him, for 7th rather.
Yep, that is still between Rucola, Hughes, and Trangarade. Ever since Rucola's mistake, once again, just not pulling away from Hughes. I understand Lindsay finally made a pass. I believe that was over Claridge.
Yeah, it was up at Tessa rather.
Yeah, into the hairpin. Claridge just made a mistake out of Villeneuve. Tried to collect it together, but by the time he did, Lindsay said, "Thank you, I will take 12th."
It's like watching one of those MotoGP races. Just a lot of little packs broken up across the track and lots of action to go with them.
Certainly, and we see our leaders were close together once again. Macias was under threat from Nora Lumpke, but boy, through Tamburello, he did not look tidy, and he lost a whole hunk of time. Oh, once again, he is struggling as Nora Lumpke gets squirrely out of Villeneuve. All this happened in about 5-6 seconds, I should say, ahead of 4th place Victor Rodriguez. So really not under too much threat from behind, but Nora Lumpke's got to get control of that car here.
In fact, I think our leaders are the slowest cars on track right now, but that's probably because they were all battling for those positions last lap around. Got to keep an eye on that, though. Maybe they burned off their tires more than everybody else.
Well, speaking of cars struggling for grip, McClarridge isn't done with the threat behind now. He's got John Stevens and Teemu Vaskalampi. And we know Vaskalampi is well out of position, so I wonder if this is going to be short work for him. Oh, way off course. That's going to be a cut course penalty for McClarridge. Mick looking like not quite as strong here today. Oh, and he's just going to take it off course. Is this going to be the end of the day? Mick parks it and takes a tow.
It's only our second retirement after Marira's blown engine at the opening stages to this Grand Prix.
Man, after being so dominant in the Lotus 49, unusual to see Quick Mick down there and retiring, not based on damage, but just not feeling comfortable in the car. So as we look at the battle for 13th, John Stevens and Thibaut Vascalampi are now left to themselves. Surprised Timo hasn't climbed up through the order quicker.
I'm surprised we haven't seen anything else break out up front, Joe. Not too surprised, I suppose, that Puhaka was able to pull away from Macias once he got by. I thought Noah Lamke would be on top of him too. But yeah, Macias holding a steady, I'd say about half a second over Noah Lamke, who's unable to make any inroads on him right now.
Oh, and just as we cut away, well, we can't see it on screen yet. There it is. Vascalampi finally gets by Stevens. That was into Tosa, I believe. Here we go. Out of Villeneuve, sets him up, nice and tight behind him. Ducks up the inside. Stevens doesn't fend him off, and the Finn gets himself into 13th.
These drivers are doing it all wrong, Joe. They're giving up positions at the end of a race, and it's the start of a race when you're meant to do that kind of stuff. None of them were having any of it at that point.
Well, we got another battle where we might see a change of position. Lear Hughes and Ove Trangarade very close down into Tamburello. But the Scandinavian not quite close enough to the UKI driver. I'm trying to remember, Lear Hughes, I think a Welshman, is that correct? Am I off on that one? Yes, we're hearing. Oh boy, as we ride on board with Trangarade really putting the pressure on, but he's been stuck behind this Ferrari for a number of laps.
Yeah, he has, but you do have to wonder if he's just been biding his time. 8 laps to go when they come across the line, about 10 minutes left to try and find a way by. That's not the way to do it.
Yeah, a little wide out of Aqua Minerale costs him a few tenths and allows Lear Hughes to breathe a little bit easier. Out of Alta they come and then plunge back downhill towards Ravata, and now he's really opening up the gap as Trangarade is a whole 7 tenths back. Speaking of which, that's about the same gap that we've got between Macias and Nora Lampe. The Preacher just is stuck in third and not able to do anything with it. Puhaka, though he's opened things up, it's about a 1.5 seconds between himself and now second place Macias. It's one mistake could really put Ossian back in the thick of it.
Yeah, there's not really anyone who can afford a mistake out here, Joe. All those little packs have broken up again, but if anyone makes a mistake, pretty much at least I'd say over half the cars out there have someone else within a couple of seconds of them. So a mistake would cost him a position. And with these tyres wearing in the closing moments here, I guarantee we'll see something like as Macias gets loose at the bottom of a hill. Nora Lamke going to try and capitalize.
Oh, down to the inside into Alta. He's been working on this a long time. Oh, and he outbrakes himself. It looks like Macias is going to have to go straight on. He'll get a slowdown, but will Nora Lampe let him stay ahead? And the answer is yes. Preacher usually likes to race fair, and as you can see, he's going to try and do this clean.
Now, the good news is they were both able to get away with that and not lose the position to Victor Rodriguez back in 4th place. The bad news is they can't do that one more time. Rodriguez is only a couple of seconds behind them now.
Macias probably thinking that was a little bit rude. Now, Nora Lampe gets another bite as we come back live down into Tamburello. Tries to look to the inside, but he's covered off as Macias denies him that desirable inside line. Through Tamburello they go. He's still very close to him. could maybe set himself up for something into Tosa. Let's see how they handle Villeneuve. Close, but no cigar for the preacher.
This reminds me, these guys remind me of the Canadian news reporters in Anchorman 2. They're basically slinging swords and insults at each other and then apologizing for it afterwards and then going about their business like nothing happened.
Oh, this is for P2, and with that side-by-side action, first place now 5 seconds ahead of them. Commentator for Trellit.net, Ossian Puhaka, finds himself in a handy position to romp away with the win here in round 6 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship, helped along a little bit by his fellow Finn, the fight that he's having with the Iberian Sergio Macias.
I had to go and check to see if there were any Canadians actually in this race around.
Oh, sadness. Very few Americans, too. We've got a Buckeye, we've got a Hoosier in there, a New Englander, and I think that's about it. All right, second place up for grabs yet again. Macias once again covering off the inside. Last time Norlampi tried this, he spun out. He's trying to keep it together. He's very tight to that second apex. He's going to have the momentum around the outside of the final one, and now he's got it done. Slams the door, moved the preacher into second.
And very clean race in there from both of them. Not only a great pass by Norlampi, but Macias, he tried racing as defensively as he could, but he gave Norlampi space. And once he saw that number 4 was ahead, he yielded the position to him because he now knows that his teammate Victor Rodriguez is not too far behind him in 4th place. And Macias, Imola has never been a place where team orders have worked out well, so I'm sure Macias would just like to try and keep that 3rd position to himself.
Now, while that was happening, Lear Hughes, he's been a thorn in the side of Calle Rucola. He had a go at him into Tosa. Didn't come off. You can see he's still behind. Maybe backfiring, because here comes Trangarade now, who's caught up and just not going to stick his nose into Alta quite yet. Oh, very shaky there through the chicane from Calle Rucola, but he parked it at the apex to keep Lear Hughes from getting a run on him.
And if you saw some purple at the top of your screen, or your bill's on and you saw some green at the top of your screen, no, that was not deceiving. Alex Millward did just set the fastest lap of the race, the last lap around. He's in 6th right now, trying to run down Tapani Linaluoto for 5th place in the closing stages here, as this 3-way battle for 7th works its way down the front straight. I think they're all a bit spread out right now to attempt to pass.
Yeah, none of them really flowing for anything at this point, but the laps are running out. And Ove, I really think, is the one, if there's any pressure building inside that helmet.
I'm sorry, Joe. Looks like we have another car out of the race. Drake Madreski is in the wall. Third retirement, but yeah, he's taken the toe. Back to the action.
Yeah, J6's car, unfortunately, done for today with it being so late. Not enough time to try and repair that. So we jump back to this battle. Your order here up at the front of this threesome is Ruocola 7th, Lear Hughes 8th, and Trangarade at 9th. Here we look back over the rear wing of Ruocola. The Finn's safe for now. Ooh, oh, very bad exit off of Alta, and spins yet again. Lear Hughes has to take evasive action, gets to the grass, and Trangarade sneaks by. I did not expect that to go that way. I don't think Hughes did either. Sees the mistake, thinks, okay, I can take advantage of it, but then it looks like the AstroTurf is what lost grip of Ruocola and sent him accidentally spinning into the way of the Ferrari.
Which means Trangarade is now going to have a chance to think about getting 7th position from Ruocola with just 3.5 laps left to go.
Way on top of the screen, we saw again Millward went purple and is now within a second of Linelotto. These two really running at an incredible pace. Their last lap was faster than all three of our leaders. I have to wonder what could have been if they started a little bit higher. Getting down to fewer and fewer opportunities here, as it's going to be three laps to go momentarily.
Macias just went wide on the exit of a chicane, and you can get a slowdown if you abuse that too much, because iRacing can say, no, you're widening the turn too much. We're going to tell you, slow down, you naughty boy, yield some time, and Rodriguez goes behind the third.
What a race from Rodriguez. He started this race in 7th and is now looking at a podium. This is kind of similar to what we saw in the Lotus 49 and the IGPS race this weekend. Just a number of drivers coming from way back to get good finishes.
And both races this morning, the guy who started first has finished last.
Good point. Bit of a cursed position today as we watch these two come up to Tosa. Macias could yet come back at his teammate.
The pole position curse, never a curse I have to worry about too much.
Same here. It's been a long time since I had a pole. We're their way through Piratella, but Rodriguez now starting to put a little bit of a gap on his teammate. I think Macias really regretting how greedy he got over the curbs early in the race. That seems to have really defined how today has gone for him.
Yeah, I could kind of agree there, Joe. We don't know for sure that that's what affected him, but meanwhile, a good battle for fifth shaping up here. Millward has been setting those fastest laps again and again. Boy, he's getting aggressive now. They go down the hill. He has the inside line. He's going to have the inside line for the next turn as well. But who will get the better run? Out onto the front straight. Linelotto on the outside. Millward on the inside. Linelotto gets the better exit, but Millward should be able to tuck in behind his rear wing here, get the slipstream. 2 laps left to go for these drivers to sort out who's going to make 5th and who's going to make 6th.
Well, Millward forcing him to the inside, just holding him down there as late as he can. Oh, he clatters over the curb and they come together. Both of them go around. Millward gets it going. Here comes the cars behind.
Oh, who's going to get 5th? It's still on. It's Rucola right now. Millward in 6th. Jandre 7th. Hughes up to 8th. Wood 9th. I think Linelotto has got more damage out of this.
Oh, sad to see. And we're going to watch the replay here. Rucola really gaining the most from that. It was looking like it was going to be a tight fight, but just a little bit too far up and clattering into the curbs goes Millward. And that ended it. Whew, oh, that was a hard hit. Yeah, I have a feeling that Millward probably pretty damaged after that. He did have a go at Rucola into Tosa, but it didn't go off. Rucola probably as surprised as anyone to suddenly find himself in the top 5. I wondered if he would have a good recovery drive after what was an uncharacteristic qualifying. Well, he's up into 5th from starting 11th, but now Millward, despite his damage, is finding out how to handle the car and is starting to threaten as the white flag is out.
Yes, the final lap for our race leader, Puhaka, so that means this is going to be the last time these drivers are going to be able to attempt a pass into the first corner. Rucola running in 5th place. He's had a nice race through the field after starting 11th. He's got to be a bit defensive on Millward here, who also has carved his way up through the field, starting 9th up to 6th.
Yeah. On screen, we just saw Wood get by Trangarade as Wood gets himself now into 8th.
Oh, Linelotto definitely has more damage out of this. He's dropped all the way back to 13th now, just trying to nurse the car home.
Disappointing after he was having such a great run. No disappointment, though, for his fellow Finn. Ossian Puhaka up into Alta one last time. It's 4 seconds over Nora Lampi. But the Preacher, I think, at this point doesn't have a prayer unless we see a big mistake from Ossian. Down into Ravazza. 2 more apexes to go. From the final corner, finds the right pedal, accelerates to the line. Ossian Puhaka is going to take the win here at Imola.
Nora Lamke second, Rodriguez will round out the last step on the podium, Marcius in fourth, and then Finn still close for fifth on back, Drew, but it looks like they'll remain the way they are now.
Rucola safe off the final corner. Boy, great drive from Cali to get himself into fifth, though this will hurt in the championship for sure for him.
P10.
Lindsay and Vascalampi.
Yeah, this is 11th actually. I don't know. Oh, that's right. These guys got by Lino Luoto this lap. Lindsay will hold on to 11th ahead of Vascalampi and John Stevens 13th. And Lino Luoto is going to drop all the way down to 14th on the last lap in that beat-up number 3 machine.
Oh, contrasting fortunes for the Finns. So with that, we're going to take a break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back after we show you all the upcoming races here on your screen. And then after that, we'll give you the official results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to Imola. We just watched round 6 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship. Up at the top, he had to work for it. He put it on the second row, but he finished on the top spot. Ossian Puhaka takes the win today over fellow Finn Juha Norlampi. A little bit controversial at times, but Norlampi tried to play fair, gave the spot back to Macias. You have to wonder, though, if the damage that the contact made cost Sergio, because he finished behind third place, which was Victor Rodriguez, going from 7th to 3rd. Macias, despite starting on the front row, finishes 4th today. Kalle Ruokola, a little bit of luck helped him along. Bad qualifying certainly gave him a lot of work to do, but he gets a top 5 today. Alex Millward is feeling a little bit guilty. He made contact with Lina Luoto towards the end and it still gets a 6th. Lear Hughes was behind him, taking home 7th. Matt Wood gets 8th. And then at 9th is Ove Trangrade in a close fight with a lot of drivers throughout the day. Rounding out our top 10 is Mr. Kittens himself, Mark Pickford.
Not far behind those drivers are the drivers who came off a little bit south of some of those battles, starting with Justin Lindsay in 11th, head of Timu Vaskilamki. John Stevens will be rounding out 13th place, ahead of Tapani Linaluoto, who had a lot of damage towards the end. Steve Pycroft will be in 15th position, ahead of Tommy Mikel Onhola, who pretty much just was riding around after making an early unscheduled stop. He finishes 16th. Jacek Majeski will place 17th after he spun off late on. Mick Claridge also had a couple of offs and decided to park it in 18th place. Nuno Moreira was dominating the race early until his engine went bang, and that number 6 car will be ranked 19th and last at the completion of today's event.
Well, we have our winner waiting to talk to us, Ossian Puhaka, and certainly had to make his way through up towards the front with some good passes. But Ossian, it looked like you were kind of biding your time. Is that accurate? Were you just waiting for good opportunities?
Yes.
Well, they certainly worked out. Now, there was some intense fighting, obviously, that you saw between both Nora Lampi and Macias, but you were helped along a little bit by Nuno Moreira blowing his engine. If that hadn't happened, do you think it would have been a harder fight for you?
Nuno would have won it, I think, if he would have not blown his engine. But then again, it's motorsport, so even though it's virtual. But our TC10 and 177 was running really good today, and I have to thank all our sponsors at Inertia Sim Racing and everybody else. And well, to answer your question, there was some intense fighting, but it reminded me sort of the Cold War. Maybe there was this sense of mutually assured destruction in the air when it was, no offense, when it was Sergio and Juha fighting for the win. So I was like, okay, I'm biding my time here, sitting here. At one point, I was a bit slower than I thought I would be, but then it got all back together again. So great result.
Obviously, a little bit better than when you were last calling this track, and I was out there down there racing, where I wound up on my lid. Do you consider this a pretty strong one for yourself, or how do you feel about Imola?
Well, first of all, if I could make one change to this track, then I would blow up the Variant Delta chicane and make actually something actually reasonable there. Imola has never been a good track for me. I never could quite get the hang of it, but this week it's been a long break for me, so this week just, was able to find the pace.
Well, you did a fantastic job, played it perfectly, and came home with the win. Congratulations.
Thank you, Joe. And can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
So it's been 2 months for me. 2 weeks for me, 3 weeks of me of quite intense pain because I haven't been able to drive. I thought I would never drive again because my back has been acting up again. I got a slip disc on my back and pretty bad cramps, so this feels extra special. And I just want to say that take care of your backs, everybody. And thank you.
Well, that makes it even more impressive. Great to see you up in victory lane. That was Ossian Puhaka, our winner today. And coming home in second behind him, his fellow Finn, Juha Norlampi, is talking to Sam.
Juha, congratulations on the second place finish. I know things got a little bit rough at points, though.
Thanks, Samuel. Yes, it was a tough race, and many things happened there, and luckily managed to came to second place.
Yeah, how much respect and trust do you drivers have against each other now? I mean, we're 6 weeks into the season and we keep seeing this, a lot of aggressive driving, but when you do come to blows, you're respectable about it. You know, you yield positions, you try again. Do you feel comfortable racing the drivers around you up front there?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with the top guys here, Nuno and Gernot and Sergio and others, and also Ossian. Ossian is a very good driver and very talented with overtaking maneuvers. And perhaps I'm the one that is most dangerous here because I still lack a little bit the same confidence with overtaking situations that other top guys, because I have been not so long here, but I'm improving all the time and I'm enjoying now more than ever with these tight situations. And well, there was two mistakes there. On lap 9, I was overtaking, trying to overtake Sergio, and I just lose my car after the first the Variante Tamburello, and Ossian came and go ahead, and then I just noticed that they are a similar pace with me, and I just tried to stick there third, and I say at one point to my microphone for Ossian that he could push and try to overtake Sergio, and I will let him be there and not attack. But I don't know if he heard me.
Well, you mentioned that you lack a little bit of confidence with overtaking. You think that's going to hurt you next week? We go to Brands Hatch. I know that's a tough track to pass on too.
Well, I don't know. I don't lack it not so much anymore, but it could be always better. And there, when we were at lap 22, I recall it was when I was overtaking Sergio again, trying to overtake. I just missed my braking point there at the Variante Alta, and I'm so sorry to Sergio that he broke his car a little more there. And after that, it was much easier to take another try and manage to overtake. But it was one of the best races for a long time, I think, and this was very tough. And I'm so sorry about Nuno's engine blow there. And last race, he got a broken car because he bumped in my rear tire, and he couldn't have good points at all this weekend. It hurts his CTC championship title, but that's racing. But let's see what happens next. So thank you guys, and bye-bye.
All right. Bye, Juha. Thanks for coming to talk to us.
And that's going to be it for our interviews today. Of course, we want to thank the Lotus 79 community for coming back and bringing GSRC on to cover yet another season. We love getting to call these races. And of course, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page as well and hit that big red subscribe button so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Now, as Sam mentioned, the next race, we're heading over to England. That'll be at Brands Hatch. That'll be April 29th at 12:30 a.m. Eastern, an old-style circuit that can be very difficult. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.